I have 2 sheets of cardstock here. I'm making a smaller ornament. If you want to make a really large one, you can use 6 sheets of paper. I want to make 6 squares, so what I want to do is fold this paper to make it into a large square first. So I'm just going to fold it just like this. And then I'm going to cut this extra sheet of paper off. I'm just going to follow the line that I folded and just cut that extra piece off, which will leave me with a square sheet left. And then what I can do is I can fold this into 4 squares just by folding it one way like that, and then folding it again, and then cutting this into my 4 squares, cutting along the creases that I made. To make 4 squares. And I want to do that with my other sheet of paper as well. I need a total of 6 squares. I'll end up with 8, so it's okay to have extra just in case. So I want to take one piece of paper, and what I want to do is I want to grab my ruler, and I'm going to measure going from left to right. I'm going to mark each centimeter. And keep in mind, when I get to the end of this centimeter is short. So if I mark the 10, this doesn't reach the 11. So rather, I'm just going to leave this a large gap right here. I'm not going to mark the 10. I'll stop at 9. And then I want to do that at the bottom as well. Mark each centimeter going up to 9. And then I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to go from left to right again, doing the same thing, marking each centimeter except just stopping at 9, then bringing it down here, marking each centimeter. So now I'm going to draw a grid basically. I'm going to use the marks that I made and just draw a line across. Okay, so the next thing is optional. It's really just a visual thing. Look for your large square here and make sure to fold a diagonal line right across where that large square is. And then what you want to do is I'm just going to erase right along where I folded. It's just a reminder to not cut all the way down. It's going to look something like this. We want to stack 6 pieces if we can. Now, if it's too thick, you can do 3 and then redo the lines. I'm going to try to do all 6. Okay. So here's 6 pieces. I'm going to stack them on top of each other. And then what I'm going to do is now I'm going to cut down these lines vertically, but I don't want to cut all the way to the fold. So as I cut down, I'm just going to cut, but not go all the way down to the fold. You just want to cut close to it. leaving maybe about a centimeter of space. Okay, so once you're done cutting that last one, you also want to cut this way now. So you want to make sure these are stacked again, and we're going to cut up all the way down until we reach not all the way to the fold, but close to it, about a centimeter. I'm stopping again, similar to how I cut it up here. And so I'll go all the way down this way now, making those cuts. So what you want to do next is take one of the sheets of paper that you cut up and go for the long cutouts first, these long strips. And what you're going to do is you're going to bring them together and you're going to glue them, but you don't want to glue them at an angle. You want to glue them so they touch and it creates a horizontal line. You want to match up the ends. You don't want them to be like that. You want them to be like this. So I'm going to put a little glue on the end of one. I've got hot glue, but you can use regular glue as well. You just have to hold it in place a little longer to make sure it's going to stay. So I'm just going to hold that there and let that glue. So that is your first piece. Then you're going to turn this around fully. You're going to take the next two strips. You're going to pull those back just like that and glue them. Unfortunately, this is just slightly, one is thicker than the other, but no big deal. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on that end and overlap this one with this one. And then I'm going to continue doing the same thing. I'm going to flip this back around and I'm going to do the next one, and I'm going to bring those two together and I'm going to glue those. And you want to just keep doing the same thing all the way up until you reach the end. So I'm almost at the end here, and it's a little hard for me to bring these together, and it looks like I could snip this a little further in. So I'm going to do that first. I'm going to just snip it a little further down, and that will give me a little more room to bend this last piece. And just apply my glue. And then you end up with this square or diamond shape at the very top. And this is what it looks like from the side. So you want to make 5 more of these, so you have a total of 6. So I will continue making more. Now for the last piece, this one has all the drawn lines on it. So you can take your eraser and erase all these, or you can just also use one of your other pieces and cut out an extra one if you want to fully get rid of those lines and you don't want to see them. Okay, so now I have 6 pieces. I want to take 2 pieces and glue them together at that end like this. Okay, so I'm going to put a little glue just on one of these, and then I'm going to match this one up, pull them together match up that end there. So I'm going to add another one right next to it. So I'm going to put a little more glue here. Match these up. You can bend these out a little bit so they're not all smashed together. See how I'm bending that just a little bit so it doesn't smash this area. So now I want to do that with the other three. Let's set these aside and glue these three together. Is we are going to glue these two together, and it's going to be the opposite ends like that. So we want to put a little glue on one end, and then we're going to close that up. You want to push it in a little bit if you can. And then let that go. Once it's dry, we can fold this a little more so it opens up a little bit more. And once you have that shaped, you can add a little ribbon or string. I have some white yarn here, so I'm just gonna grab a little bit. It's probably about a foot, maybe a little more. Just cut that off. I'm going to create a loop and just tie a knot at the end here. So trim the excess yarn, and then I'm going to just glue it to one of these ends so I can string it up like an ornament. Okay, so I have a standard ornament here. Mine happens to be gold, so it's kind of a perfect color. If yours is not the color you want, you can paint the whole thing first, like an off-white cream, something lighter, and then just paint the whole thing and let it dry. And then now I'm going to use this darker bronze, but if you don't have a bronze, you can also just use a dark brown. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this paint, and I'm just going to paint a V on the head. Now I'm free-handing it. If you're not sure how to paint it, you can always mark with a pencil first how you want to paint. You basically want to paint a V coming towards the center of the ornament. So I'm just going to paint over that, and I'm going to paint over the lines that I made with the pencil too. That way I can kind of cover that up. So because of this type of plastic, I'm probably going to go over this a few times. I'm going to allow this first layer of paint to dry because you can really see my brush strokes at this time. So I'm going to go over one layer first, and then I'll go over one more time. I'll let this dry and go over a second layer. Okay, so while I'm letting this dry, the first layer, I've decided I'm going to use this bead for the nose. You don't have to use a bead if you can't find one. You can also just paint the nose, or really just add pretty much anything red. But because my bead is white, I'm going to paint it red. I'm just going to grab a little red paint here. If you don't want to get your hands dirty, you can always use a nail to kind of hold that bead in place. You're going to get your hands a little dirty still, but this kind of makes it easier to paint the bead without getting your hands super dirty. I'm going to use some pipe cleaner to make antlers for my ornament. If you don't have pipe cleaner, you can also just cut this out of construction paper. So I'm going to fold this in half. I'm going to make 2 antlers out of this. I'll just cut this right in the middle. So I have 2 pieces now. And then I want to shape this into antlers. So I'm going to fold it once and then fold it out this way and create some sections that are sticking out. I can twist this side together and kind of look and see if that's going to work. I want to get rid of this little hole here that I see. You can just twist this again right there in the middle. And see that I'm bending this back a little bit, and that's going to help the glue stick to this antler and adhere to the surface of my ornament here. Okay, so I'm doing the second layer of the bronze, and I can also use my brush to kind of even out some of these brush strokes. If you messed up anywhere, you can always just take a paper towel and just clean up any areas where the paint got out of that triangle. Okay, so now I'm gonna glue everything on. You kind of want to let your paint dry as much as you can before you glue this on. I'm gonna be using googly eyes for my eyes, but you can always paint eyes on with black paint, which is really nice because you can also paint eyelashes and whatever you want. So I'm gonna glue the nose down first. I want to put some glue right at the tip of that triangle we painted. I want to take the nose and make sure that the holes are not showing of my bead. I don't want those holes, the hole to be in the front. They are at the sides. And then I can also put a little glue where I want the eyes. Just place down my eyes. So I'm going to glue my antlers on now, and I can put some glue right here on this little leg that I created. And glue that. Can get a pencil and kind of push that down if I need to, because I can always adjust this antler afterwards since it's made out of wire.